Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the AP Film Room on the YouTube channel for Arrowhead Pride. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you watching. I know why you're here. You're here to watch some Chiefs film, and that's why we're here too. We love breaking it down, football nerds as we are. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site, and with me are two of our great film analysts, Nate Christensen and Caleb James. Caleb, I'll start with you. Second show of your AP tenure. First game under your belt, watching it kind of as an AP film analyst. I don't know, how you feeling about the team this deep into the season at this point?
Well, man, I feel like I got off of a roller coaster after that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I felt like, the ups and downs of that one were about as high and low as we've seen all season long, but they were able to pull it out in Denver. May have been a little closer than we all wanted it to be, though.
No, way closer than I was joking on our pod today, the Out of Structure podcast on the Arrowhead Pride podcast channel, that, if you fell asleep, after Willie Gay, or you ran out and kind of said, I don't need to watch the rest of this game. You would be like, you would not believe what happened the rest of the game. I thought it was about to be 45-50 nothing, the way the defense was playing, the way the offense was on a roll. Nate, I don't know. How did you feel after that roller coaster game?
Yeah, I was still going to have it on one screen, but it was going to be on my small screen. I was about to turn on like a basketball game, because I was like, it's going to be back up second half. I really don't need to pay attention to this too much. And then it just swung so fast. I think it was within a span of 4 minutes of game time, they scored, the Broncos scored 3 touchdowns, and there were 2 turnovers in there. And it was just a wild swing. And it was just a weird game. The first half, the first 25 minutes couldn't have gone better. It was a bad team, but like they couldn't have executed better on either side of the ball. And then that middle portion of the game was like the complete inverse. Right. And then the end of the game was just like, it seemed like the Chiefs were just trying to end the game. Like they didn't really, their playbook like completely shut down. They kept running like the same plays they did earlier in the game. It was just a weird game. It's hard to explain like what happened to someone.
I agree. It was a weird game to cover. And now we will have to be talking about the defense talk about weird performances. You talk about first half, it's 27-0. Willie Gay has a pick 6. They have all these sacks, they get all these stops, but they let it kind of come back on them, even though the offense really did set them up. It really was the offense that set them up to kind of have those, the Denver come back in the game. But I kind of did pick plays from that first part of the game because, I don't want to have the excuse of, the game was, at a certain point, so maybe there was a lackluster effort. When I make some of these judgments on these players, because the thing I want to talk about today is, and it's been kind of a thing all season, but I just think it's come to a head a little bit, and there were some examples in this game. The Bengals game was a great example. It would have been a good thing to look at last week, but the safety play, the play from the starting safeties, and specifically Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill. I do have a clip of Brian Cook that I'll show too, where I think, it's just it's kind of just a thing with this entire group where they just don't make plays enough. Maybe we're spoiled with the Tyrann Mathieu of the world, in the past, being an all-pro safety, on the fact that he made plays, created turnovers himself, jumped routes, even in run defense, maybe guessed some things and guessed right. You don't see that from these guys, from the safeties, Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill. And actually, from the first play, is just kind of an example of just having, a little bit more awareness on the field. This maybe turns into a pick if Justin Reed, and I'll set it up a little better here. So we're first down, the Chiefs get into an 8-man box, Thornhill's down, they're in a run look, right? But the Broncos come out, play action, it's a cover 3 coverage behind it. And you got these deep routes, right? You got the crossers, looks like a deeper crosser, but it's a waggle, right? Where it's a fake, and then he's going to come back, against the grain of the defense back across. Well, McDuffie does a good job, getting depth. He's there to take it away. I don't really like Justin Reed's turn, right? You wish he'd be a little smoother on the turn, on the transition. And so that's one part of this. But the other part I just don't like is, and, maybe it's kind of hard to see, but I just feel like he doesn't play this ball well at all. And if he does, it's a pick. It's an underthrown ball. And I think he understands. I think he is anticipating an underthrown ball, but he just slows up and puts down gear way too quickly. He needs to be sprinting back there. He is actually supposed to be over the top of this, to be honest with you. But I get why you're not over the top of it, so that's excused. But tell me he makes the best effort to get back there and make a play on this ball. This is the first play of the defensive game. This is not later in the game or anything. I think he just misjudges it, but that's just part of it to me. I just need these safeties to be better playmakers than this. And I have another good example of that with Juan Thornhill, because Justin Reed's the main guy I have this gripe with, I will say. Thornhill makes more plays. He had the sack this week, right? He actually had a pass defense over the middle as well. But this was an example of one where it's the same thing. And I actually circle it here, but just awareness of the field, awareness of where you're at. This is a third down, and you can see the sticks are at about the 35-yard line here. Thornhill, they're disguising cover one man, right? So it's actually pre-snap. It's going to look like just a too high safety look with man. I guess they're going to show Snead in man coverage here, but Snead blitzes, and so it's actually Thornhill's guy that's going to be from right here. So Thornhill has him in man coverage. He's playing from depth because he wants to disguise it, right? He wants to disguise the coverage, but know where your sticks are, dude. And he just lets him get to the sticks and run right at the sticks and get the first down. Like, this is where I'm talking about being more of a playmaker. Like, yes, you don't want to it's a one high look, so you don't want to necessarily get burned. Like, I get why you want to have some cushion here, but it's know your awareness, know your situation, especially when it's a blitz. The ball wants Russell Wilson's going to get the ball out quick, right? It's a blitz. That's the whole point of it. It's forcing a quick throw or a sack. And so that quick throw, it's going to be at the sticks. And so I just feel like this is where Thornhill just has to have a little more awareness as a playmaker and just make this play. Just don't give him so much cushion is the thing. He reacts well to the out. It's not like he doesn't react quickly, but why are you giving him this much cushion? You got to come up and play this a little more aggressively. And this is Kendall Hinton too. This is Kendall Hinton. This dude was a quarterback, a practice squad quarterback, like last year or whatever, or the COVID year, I guess. But just is not someone that should be threatening you deep very much. You should be able to make this play. I know he's, hey, Thornhill, he's not known for man coverage, right? Maybe it's a little unfair to point a man coverage snap and say, hey, look, he didn't have the greatest rep. But it's just an overall point that the safeties can be better playmakers than they are. And this is another one on Justin Reed where this is actually in the run game, but I would just like to see just a better effort on this. So I'll set it up. It's 3rd down and 4. So it's a shotgun look. Hey, you understand that this could be a pass. It's 3rd and 4. It's obviously I mentioned shotgun. They're in a man coverage look. Justin Reed's locked up on this tight end here, Greg Dulcich, and he should be locked up. He should be eyes on him, right? Well, the Broncos run it. It's 3rd and 4, right? You can't necessarily you can't completely unexpect that or not expect it. And Reed goes with his man coverage guy until he realizes he's just going for a block, right? He's not going on any crossing route. But I just don't like. First of all, it's one thing I just wish you'd have a little more awareness of like, okay, like this could be a run. Like I'm going to be a little more ready for a run. But watch the effort after that happens. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. Like, where is the urgency to get and get there and make a play? Once he realizes, he turns his head, he sees the running back, and he's kind of just sitting there, kind of just watching it happen, and then finally says, "Oh, he's coming towards me. I'm gonna put my shoulder into him, and I'll get the end zone look too." But it just, a playmaker, right? He has kind of in the back of his head that this could be a run. He kind of maybe in his peripheral. He kind of maybe can see, that okay, this guy's down blocking. I'm gonna, jump this gap right here and make a play. But just I don't like this how casual he is right here. Do you see this? I want to ask you guys because I don't want to be too critical, but watching number 20 here, like, am I wrong to think like this is just kind of too casual for me on a 3rd and 4 on the first drive of the game? I don't know. I guess I'll ask Nate. Like, what do you think, Nate? I'll ask you here. What do you think?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, it's 3rd and 4. It's still like I wouldn't know the percentages, but that's still a high probability of run, especially if they're going to go for 4th down potentially. You're down in the box. Like I know you're kind of outside the tight end a little bit playing man, but you're still in the box. Like if you're in the box, you're still part of the run fit. And he just like obviously kind of goes to the tight end first. He doesn't read that is, but like he doesn't get off a block at all. He tackles slow. So yeah, no, I think it's entirely fair. Like if this was 3rd and 11, that'd be one thing, but this is 3rd and 4, man. Like it's still probably 40% run at least. I mean, I don't know Denver's tendencies in and out, but like, come on, man.
Caleb, what do you think about this? Because I
Well,
do want to make sure I'm not being too critical.
Well, I think you're hitting it on the head, but first thing for me, I mean, your 3 technique is getting just blown off the ball. Your tight end is going to take on the linebacker. You know, they've got their guy pulling, but he's got to be the guy that steps in to make that play. He's got to be the guy that recognizes that off the bat because, you know, Dulcich is going to try to pick off Bolton here.
Exactly.
There's no one else to make that tackle before the marker. It's got to be Reed's play to make.
I mean, he's unblocked. Like he's essentially unblocked.
This is how they're wanted. That's why he's so up close.
Yeah.
I mean, he's close to the box so he can, you know, because he's supposed to be a good tackler. That's what we brought him in to do, some of that stuff, and he just didn't step into the void.
Right, and it's just clear that he anticipates the pass, right? And that's why he follows, because you're not following a down blocker for no reason. You're following a guy you think is in man coverage and running a crossing route potentially, and he's kind of just staying with him. That's a good point though, Caleb. You know, something that I maybe overlooked, but this is a pass down defense. The scheme that they have in, you know, this is they have Dan at the 3 tech, or you know, he's obviously right over the guard on this, but you know, he gets washed out because he's not usually a 3 tech, right? He's a defensive end, but they have the pass rush package in, so that's a part of this too. But real quick before I dish it off to Nate, I just wanted to, you know, I'm not trying to rag on the rookie or anything, but just wanted to also just. It's just been an overall thing. And, you know, I think this was a really good opportunity for Brian Cook to make, you know, one of his first plays as an NFL player. And he reads this really well, like reads Dulcich's feet, like goes with him and like even like brings his hands through and everything. He just doesn't look and make the play. Like make this play, make a pick, create the turnover. Like that's what you're supposed to do as a defender. And the end zone angle doesn't give you a great look at it, but he did everything right except make the play. And that's just kind of almost part of the theme of this is just that I just feel like the safeties, I want more plays made. And this defense was a lot more volatile this week, which I actually kind of liked. I didn't like the super negative parts of it, but the one thing about the safeties is they don't have that high side of the volatility. And unfortunately right now, some of those missed tackles is part of the low side. And if you're not getting the high upside of it, then it's really frustrating. So that's the safety talk. Nate, let's flip to offense. Let's talk. You know, I think you got some good stuff to talk about. You know, we started negative here, but you're talking offense, which you know didn't have its brightest day ever. You know, could have had a cleaner day, obviously, but you know, guys that did have a clean day were the offensive linemen. Tell us about them.
Yeah, for Arrowhead Pride this week, I wrote about Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. I genuinely believe they're arguably playing their best football so far in their career. I would say maybe their pass protection's a little more inconsistent this year compared to years past, but what they're doing in the run game and the screen game is tremendous. I want to point out, I have a 2-minute clip here. I'm not going to run through all these screens. I'm just going to run through the last one here, the highlight one. So it's in the red zone. I believe this was 3rd down. And the Broncos on 3rd down all day were sending really aggressive pressures. Whether it's like a 5-man pressure, a full-out blitz, stunts, like they were just playing wildly aggressive up front. And I thought Andy Reid did a really good job of like timing his blitzes. So on this play, we'll kind of let it play out here. It's just a little slip screen. And we'll watch Trey Smith. And there's 2 things obviously about Trey Smith on this play that are great. Obviously the pancake on Justin Simmons in the open field was great, but I also love what he does to the Mike linebacker here, number 47. 47 is going to come through kind of like on a blitz, and I actually think he kind of reads his screen, but Smith's going to kind of hit him with like an outside chop and bring him to the ground, so he can't get in Mahomes' throwing window at all. And then obviously what he does, just leveling out Justin Simmons, it's a crazy play. But yeah, what those guys do in the screen game is incredible. Considering how big Trey Smith is, the way he moves in space, like I promise you guys, it's not common. Like guys that are that big and that long cannot like open their hips and run in the open field as well as he does. I think he's gotten better at the details of the screen game this year too. So yeah, I just wanted to say like what he's done in the screen game is great. Moving on to the run game, I won't break down all these clips. The Chiefs have used more kind of power pulling runs this year, more counter runs, whether that's from under center or from the gun. And it wouldn't work without Trey Smith in totality because he can either pull and kick out a defensive end or climb to a linebacker. I mean, we've all seen the highlights of him doing that. But he's also critical on like the backside of these blocks, like clearing if it's like a combo, letting Joe Thuney pull through. So the Chiefs can pull either way. And I know that sounds really simple, but a lot of teams don't have that luxury. A lot of teams can only pull one way because maybe their other guard just doesn't have like the strength, or the other guard's not laterally explosive enough to like pull and kick out. But the Chiefs, Joe Thuney's like this too, but Trey Smith can do either. So from like a tendency sense, they can run to maybe where like a safety is in the box and run right at him. They can kind of run at like a numbers advantage. And it sounds like simple, but that's a huge advantage. I mean, he can do it off either side. It just makes it so much harder, to align like in the box. And it just takes advantage of number counts. Finally, I'm not going to break all these down. The Chiefs' zone blocking this year, it's been a little more under center. It's the best I remember it in several years, even compared to what last year was. Last year, we kind of saw the Chiefs struggle, but what Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are doing in the zone game, it's just incredible. Whether it's inside zone, whether it's outside zone, whether they're running from gun. Here's the touchdown for Clyde Edwards-Helaire in week 7. It's outside zone. Watch like Trey Smith being able to get all the way over on this 3-tech, then Creed Humphrey being able to get over. Like, that's just a huge hole. And the way they work off each other, they're always in perfect synergy on who's ready to climb, who's ready to double. They're always taking like good angles, the athleticism. What those two do in the zone game is just incredible. Like they know how to work off each other well. There's sometimes like where a defensive tackle will like pull Trey to the ground, but those are even happening rarer this year than they were last year. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are just having an overall great amount of diversity in their run game. They can literally run anything to either side. And this is without like an incredible running back or anything like that. But they've just really unlocked everything in the run game. And I think we've seen that recently. Going under center has helped more. But what I kind of wrote about is that I think Creed and Trey, what they're doing in the run game has opened up everything for the Chiefs. And I just think it makes their offense just so much more dangerous from a tendency sense.
Yeah, I like the PowerPoint you made about the power plays, and pulling either side because, I've always kind of said the Chiefs, and I do think in last year, I do think they had the tendency to go left with it because they liked Trey Smith pulling, kicking out because, he just blew up the dude and obviously created, a massive, gap. Also, left tackle Orlando Brown Jr., he's a dude that can obviously cave down a side of the line. And so it really was their better direction with it. But I think you're right on the Trey Smith caving the line down. And Joe Thuney is a really good puller too. Even, he doesn't do the highlight reel pulls, but every time he just hits the perfect angle, kind of kicks him out complete, just stalemates him, even if it's not the pancake like Trey Smith. It's Joe Thuney's really good at it too. So I like that point. Caleb, if you got anything on the offensive line, shoot. And if not, just go with your topic.
Well, just real quick on the offensive line, you're seeing a guy in Trey Smith who I thought early in the season may have, it looked like he may have had a slight bit of regression the first couple games of the year. Yeah. But I think a part of that is because last year he was the bull in the china shop. He's running around reckless, trying to blow people up every play. The last 7 to 8 games, you've seen a guy who is much more calculated and when he is going to unleash the beast on someone versus when he can, go to that Joe Thuney type, go be Joe Thuney and just technique a guy to death. You've seen both sides of those. And to be honest, the way he's looking right now, he's put up a couple all-pro games back to back. Same with Creed Humphrey. But let me get into some of this Mahomes tape.
Yeah. No,
one point real quick.
Go for it.
Trey Smith will never be like the most technically refined pass protector, but it's gotten so much better this year than it was last year. There's less times where he's getting pulled to the ground because he's leaning too much. He's still a heavy two-hand puncher, but it literally doesn't matter with how like heavy he is and how good his grip strength is. But I just wanted to point out Trey Smith, especially these past month, has gotten really good pass protection.
Yeah, and real quick, Caleb, I will say there was an ankle injury earlier in the season too. I think may have played a little bit into that too. That is easy to, because he missed some games for it. So I think he played through that a little bit too at the times. But either way, he's gotten much better just from an overall player perspective. So good call out there.
All right, well, it's time for the roller coaster. So get ready, buckle up, and obviously
let's ride.
We saw, let's ride. We saw You saw Pat just make 2 plays that no one else can do or no one else would even think to do. And then we saw a bunch of stuff that's just like, what is going on here? I'll start off with a couple of the good plays, but I'm just going to let this play out because it doesn't need me to really do any talking for the first little bit of it. But I mean, he's no-look passing a basketball to his big man for a dunk. In this case, Jerick McKinnon's housing these guys. But then when we take it back, it was just one little wrinkle by the Broncos hurt them. This guy's getting ready to drop back into coverage, and this guy's going to be coming wide. I think Pat's kind of aware that they are going to have some wider rushers who can bend, so I think he's getting ready. But Andrew Wiley makes a great decision to go ahead, and once he sees this guy go, he's going to crash down immediately onto the 3 technique, which he does.
Nice.
Mahomes surveying. Orlando's starting to get beat, but I have all this space to my right where I can run. Jerick McKinnon's leaking out, and Wiley turns it basically into a reach block on the run. He's buying Mahomes just enough time to be able to get this off. And then you go to the sideline, but then, all eyes are on Mahomes. McKinnon, I think he sees the void. Mahomes sees the void, and they hook up. And, I mean, who else thinks to do something like that, though, really? Who would think to do something like that?
How frustrated are you if you're Justin Simmons?
Look at the reaction. I mean,
I know. How do you think? There's no way you think a quarterback's doing anything in that position with the ball besides just getting tackled.
I mean, look at the sideline. Look at the Denver Broncos sideline. Watch these guys for Denver walking off. They're walking off. They know what just happened. I mean, these guys can't believe it. They're in a state of shock. I was too. But,
oh yeah, no doubt.
It's one of those things. It's hard to even break it down what you saw, just because no one is even going to think to do something like that out there. And then,
how does it even go over Justin Simmons' head? That's the thing that blows my mind is if you're Justin Simmons, that thing shouldn't go over your head at all. Cause it's not even a sidearm. It's just a flip that. I think physically that just doesn't make sense.
I think they're just thinking he's going to try to run it with his legs, and who knows, man? You just got to be ready. There's no real describing it. And then
it really isn't. Go for it.
You get down here into the red zone, and you see it again. Now we'll get into the red zone, some more Mahomes magic, some stuff that doesn't make sense. But the one thing I will take away from this play, he is starting to him and Juju are getting chemistry together. They're starting to think like one another. Because he's getting hit. There's no one open, but Juju finds just a little bit of space that he needs, and the Broncos got him manned up across the board. So I'm going to run in a big circle, buy time, take a massive hit. But right before I'm getting ready to get hit, he sees Juju, and he's kind of rolling and scrambling. Juju just finds that void where it almost looked like, does it look like the Broncos are double teaming him here to you guys?
I think it's cover 3.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, they have a bunch. It's a bunch of traffic there for sure.
Right. It's just the red zone. Yeah. I mean, they're so crowded in there. Yeah. I mean, that's good on him to find space there.
And really, you take a look at the offensive line. I know it's far away, but watch Creed. He kind of helps, because if there's any inside penetration here from, the nose tackle that Creed is blocking or Tooney's blocking, this play is probably not going to work out as great. But they're able to kind of stick with their guys the entire play, gives Pat somewhat of a lane, even though everything's collapsing around him. And just that throw. But, go ahead and celebrate. So that was the fun stuff. That's the stuff that we like to talk about. That's the side of Patrick Mahomes that we all have fun with. It's the side of Patrick Mahomes that I have fun with, because generally when he makes these kinds of plays, Chiefs are going to win that football game. But some unfortunate things happened, and I'm going to go to the very end. He threw 3 interceptions. He put up the big numbers, but I'm going to go to the very last one because I thought this was an interesting, something interesting. This is a 3rd down and short situation. I think it was about 3 or 4 yards that they needed. You see Denver, they aren't really concerned about the run game at all. They've got a guy getting ready to blitz. They're getting ready to put a little heat on Pat. They've been kind of starting to try to heat him up a little bit throughout the course of the game. They recognize this. They bring their pass rush. I think they got 3 for 3 on the left side here. They had a guy drop and they got 1. Pat is just trying to survey down the field. And really, you think he wants to go to Kelsey, But you see Josie Jewell up there at the Mike linebacker. He's just outside the hash on the 30-yard line. He looks like he can make a play. The safety, or was that a safety or corner? I could not tell who that was. But, they got Kelsey surrounded. So Pat says, I'm just going to try to force one in here to Juju, and I'll just let it play out. But, Jewell goes in, makes an incredible grab on that one. And it's a chance for Denver. Thankfully, Denver's offense was so stagnant. Chiefs were able to get off with a couple of stands there late in the game, or else it could have been a whole different ball game. But this is, a third down with the game on the line. And, this was his worst throw I think he's thrown all season. I don't know about you guys, but I just don't know how you let this ball go in a game this close, at worst take a sack or just try to chuck it away in the pocket. And he tried to thread the needle, and it doesn't even really look like, he's keying in on Juju, but it doesn't even really look like he has anyone in there. It just kind of felt like he was trying to force it. The frustration maybe had mounted throughout the course of the game, and he just decided that it was going to be, trying to just spiral and run in there. But it was a pretty ugly throw all around that almost gave him a chance to win.
Yeah, Denver, in recent games, their defense has definitely given him and Kelsey fits. Their linebackers and safeties really do a good job, clouding up coverage and stuff. And that's just a good example. And it's just like the Cincinnati examples too, to an extent. Like sometimes and he didn't force it as much against the Bengals this last time, but I feel like there are times where you just need to either, scramble forward, get as much as possible, or I don't think there was a check down on that play that was available, but either way. Yeah. Do you have another play?
Yeah, I got another one. I'm trying to pull it up here. Give me just a second, fellas.
Yeah, no, but it was 3 interceptions. I mean, it was, and all 3 of them were kind of, not all of them were the same, but they were all kind of in the same vein. And I know your second one will probably show it too, but
yeah,
just kind of threading the needle a little too much. And that we do have to give credit. I know I just gave credit to the Denver defense, but the linebackers specifically, Singleton and Jewell are really good players. Honestly, they're underrated, and they're a big reason why Denver's defense is so good.
Yeah, and this was another third down situation. I think this is kind of a example of the Chiefs starting to get a little stagnant and predictable. I kind of wrote about that in the article I did for AP this week. But it's third down, and they're going to run the sprint out, but Mahomes gets pressure pretty quickly. High pass because he's getting ready to get smoked. MVS can't haul it down, and they're punting. But they've gone to this, they've gone to the sprint out so much this year. I feel like it's almost getting a little old, and Denver had a nice little wrinkle for how they played it. Pre-snap, if you take a look at Orlando Brown, he's kind of, he's not supposed to be reaching this guy. He's going to get help from Pacheco. But if you take a look, the outside backer lined up over Kelsey acts like he's going to go after him. Then he hesitates and blows past Pacheco to just kind of, he fooled the rookie on that one. He gets in Mahomes' face, and you look right before he gets in Mahomes' face, it looks like he's getting ready to have someone open. They've got the deep safety. MVS is getting ready to drop in there around the 40. You got Kelsey coming off on the out route right there. He's probably going to look to go to Kelsey there. But then he just has to stop because he's got the rush in his face. He hesitates. He sees MVS, standing there by himself because they ran the perfect little, they ran a nice counter for the coverage with MVS just kind of running vertically and then running his little button hook there. Unfortunately, he's got a guy coming hot off the right side, which he should know. That's a hard block for any tight end or tackle to have to make on a sprint out play. But it's just that little wrinkle that they catch Pacheco with. So my big thing is the coaching staff could also put them in better situations on these, these third and short situations, just because when you watch them, they're so reliant on Mahomes now. And of course they're supposed to be, they're going to be, but at some point, you need to give them a little help with maybe some more creative play calling on these third and short plays. This is only like this is a third down and 1 play, and it's a third down and 1 play. And I think the Broncos maybe truly, you could say they have maybe 5 guys in the box, 4 of which would be threatening for any kind of a run play. It's pretty loose in there. So something maybe they have to work on. They took advantage of Pacheco despite him having a good game, but I mean, it's just something that they're going to have to get figured out. I know, obviously, and maybe I was going to see what you guys think. We see maybe some of these plays Are we just going to see some vanilla stuff the rest of the way because all they got to do is win one more game, they clinched the division?
Yep.
Or do you guys think it's more of an overarching problem that we're seeing down the line, that their offense is getting a little stagnant in the way that they call plays?
To be honest with you, I do kind of side on the side that there is something to those short yardage plays, especially because we see the fullback dive literally every time now. I mean, I know that play was the third one and it was a different play, but maybe I guess it's just the fourth and ones. It really seems like when it's do or die. And so, and we haven't seen the tight end sneak. I know we're not going to see the quarterback sneak, but we haven't seen the tight end sneak recently. It does make me think that he's just going to hit that fullback dive button and hit it until the postseason when it really matters, and maybe you get something more creative. So I would definitely side on maybe it being more vanilla the rest of the way. Nate, what do you think about it?
Probably a little bit of both. I do think this is probably where they're missing McCormick and Tony the most. They can't really access anything out of them right now. It's vanilla. I thought, just the overarching point, I thought Andy Reid called an extremely weird second half, in general. That series with the sprint out that you showed, they literally ran the same series, the 3 and out before. It was essentially the same 3 plays. It was just in a different run pass order. Then they ran the sprint out both times. Yeah, look, you just kind of have to live with that sometimes with Andy Reid. He brings it in the playoffs. That's all I really care about at this point. So we know he'll have more wrinkles for third and short in the playoffs. Yeah, it makes me mad the Chiefs just don't run the ball into light boxes. Because they can, and they've dominated that all year. But it is what it is. It's something you just kind of have to live with.
Well, hey, and it's not. I don't think this is too conspiracy theory kind of a take, but there's always the take too that maybe he's wanting to build that tendency up for opponents that they do like to throw on third and short, and then all of a sudden the playoffs they just unleash. Hey, we're just gonna run the crap out of the ball, power up your throat, and kind of really truly commit to it. Not going to put money on that because we've never seen Andy actually do that, even though a lot of people love to theorize it, including me. It is a good point about Andy. The funny thing though is, and this is where we'll get out of here, but he did save a little bit of a wrinkle last year, and it was maybe the worst short yardage play call I've ever seen in the Blake Bell quarterback option, pitch to the short side of the field on third down against the Bills. So, Andy saves it for the playoffs, but maybe it's not all good that he saves. But I like the thought of that one, honestly. I don't know, but it did not work. But no, I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys breaking stuff down. It was really good talk here. Hey, we're building, man. We got the playoffs here in roughly a month now, and as we go, we're going to keep learning more and more about the players on this team that are going to make up, a team that's either a Super Bowl champion, a memorable one, or one that we're always, going to be thinking about that, couldn't get it done. And we're going to be doing that at the site. So for Ron, for Caleb, for Nate, this has been the AP Film Room. Make sure you're following, make sure you're liking and subscribing on the page, and watch us next week. We'll be back. All right. Thank you.